Hello, Proctor and Gamble are behind an advert which is being shown regularly on British television concerning Always Sanitary Protection. What they're aiming to do and what they're striving to do is to obviously get people to buy their product, right? And what they're saying is, and they're telling us that, and we don't know how they get the statistics, is that girls who are menstruating are not going to school because apparently they can't afford sanitary protection, right? So they're not going to school. And what Always want is for you to buy their product, and some of the money, the profits, will go towards providing girls, schoolgirls who are menstruating, with Always sanitary towels. And on the face of it, you think, oh, what a nice idea of Always. What a nice idea of Procter & Gamble. Right, you have to realise there's an investment here in these girls. By providing them with the sanitary protection, they're guaranteed customers. They have customers now for life until the menopause, right? Because Always sanitary protection is very, very good. I know, I used it, but I am now post-menopausal, right? So obviously I don't need it. That's the first thing. What I want to point out, the main point I want to make here, is that in the United Kingdom, all parents get child benefit, right? And this is one of the things that child benefit is used for, to buy sanitary protection for your daughter when she's, when she's, obviously she's having periods when she's going to school. That is one of the purposes of child benefit. And child benefit is never stopped by the government, right? All parents get child benefit, and it's supposed to be for the children, right? It's not supposed to be for other stuff. It is supposed to be for the needs of the child, and when they get to 11 plus, it could be for sanitary protection. Now I know, because I've had my benefits stopped, that the supermarkets out there, the big supermarkets, Asda, Lidl, Aldi, all of them provide very cheap, basic, satisfactory sanitary towels and sanitary protection. They do provide it, and it's amazing the difference in price and how cheap it is, because I've bought them and it's perfectly fine, right? Now, the more you pay for anything, the nicer, inverted commas, it is generally. Let's be honest, it's perhaps a little bit more comfortable, a little bit nice, it suits your needs, this, that, the other. And, you can get just what you want by paying more money. But the fact of the matter, basic sanitary protection, which is all the supermarkets sell it, very, very basic, does its job. It's comfortable, it's safe, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. I know, because I've used it. Now, if parents are choosing not to buy sanitary protection for their daughters and say, look, you don't need to go to school, I'm not going to spend the money, we have to ask the question, where is the blood going to? The blood is leaving the girl's body. So even if she's at home, she will have to use some sort of something to absorb the blood, right? What is she using? Have they asked the parents this? You see, we want to get into this now, don't we? What is the daughter using? at home, if she can't go to school, what is she using to absorb the blood? She's got to use something. Is she using old towels? This is what people used to use in the old days. They would cut up towels and make pads. And did you know that, like nappies in the old days, people didn't just throw them away? What people did they would make nappies with terry toweling for the baby, and they would wash it and boil it in a big pan on the cooker. This is how it used to be. I know, I saw it when I was a child. And they would be reused. So nappies were reused. There were no disposable nappies. When disposable nappies first came out, they were considered a luxury. It was sold on the basis of if it was a real emergency. Just say, for instance, you're going on a long drive on a holiday and you need to change the baby's nappy, then mothers perhaps would buy it, say once or twice a year for a situation like that. But they wouldn't be buying it every day. They would be still boiling the nappies, right? And it's sterile and it's clean. And in the old days, women would use pads. They would make pads from materials. Now, did you know that you can actually buy, if you research it, there is out there, people do make it. I've seen it on eBay, and it's probably on Etsy and places like this, where people make sanitary protection. They make it so it's washable, right? So initially you've got the investment, right? Like any product, you've got the initial investment, but then you're reusing it. So the idea is you come home every day from school and wash it and drip dry it. That's what you do. But I want to get back to the fact that these girls who are not going to school, what sanitary protection are they using? They'll probably be using old towels, right? To put it bluntly, I mean, in the old days, girls would go to school with an old towel in the knickers, and it would be held up and everything. This is what people used to do. I actually am very sceptical about this. I'm not so sure that this is actually true. How do you check the facts as to why a girl has not come to school? I mean, it's a very good excuse for not attending school. I mean, it's something I've never thought of when I've taken a day off school, and I have done. Oh, we didn't have any sanitary towels. My mum wouldn't buy it. Is this really true? Is this really true? And you might say, why would they lie? Well, because they want a day off school, that's why. The second thing, this is negligence on the part of parents. If a parent who gets child benefit is not prepared to spend basic money on basic sanitary care for their daughter to go to school, something's wrong. Seriously wrong. This is seriously wrong. This is like parents who don't provide children with a cup of tea or a piece of toast before they go to school. Again, you see, we're the nanny state here in the UK. We do everything for what parents are supposed to be doing. Really, again, in the old days, an education officer would be visiting parents about this. They'd be saying, it is your job to feed your children before they go to school. It is your job to give them a hot drink before they go to school. And if you can't do it or won't do it, then you can't have these children. They'll have to go into care. Because if parents are refusing to buy basic sanitary towels for their daughters to go to school with the child benefit that they've been given by the government, then they shouldn't be in charge of the children. And I would say this is about child protection, and it's about feckless, most of the time, feckless parents. Now, I've had a lot of experience with poor people, and poor people, like people who are comfortably off, can be absolutely stupid, bone stupid, like people, like anybody, in the way they manage the money. So you've got people who are got next to nothing, spending money on beer, cigarettes, right? Expensive things, right? When they haven't even got the basics. I remember George Orwell, and he wrote a book on how he actually researched the poor. And what he found with the poor is they get so often their priorities wrong. He would go into their homes and there would be one chair and the kids would be sitting on the floor. Meanwhile, there would be in the corner a very new, expensive radio, right? And what happens often, he noticed, with very poor people is they want to be like everybody else and have everything else that everybody else has got. So they neglect on the basics. So the kids are hungry. They're not getting fresh fruit and vegetables. They're getting hardly anything to eat, but they've got a new radio. Because that's their parents' priority. Because they want to keep up with the Joneses, right? And you find this so often. And I've joined my life with people, and particularly when they get poor, they don't seem to, it's like the problem isn't poverty. The problem is they're not using the brains or the common sense. You've got young mothers, they don't know, they're spending a fortune on nappies when they don't realise, and nobody has told them, that they can use towels, right, and wash them and reuse them again for the baby. You don't have to use disposable nappies, right? They are so expensive, it's a luxury. And what I'm saying is, it's not in Always or any other company that produces sanitary protection, it's not in their interest to promote products that are washable. And I think this is the way forward, is washable sanitary towels, drip dry sanitary towels. With all the new technology, it can't be difficult. I do know that, as I said just earlier, on eBay you can get it, and there are women that use it and they're quite happy with it. The pads are made and they're washable, and they just change them every day or twice a day, right? There is no need for women to be spending a fortune on disposable sanitary protection, in the same way there's no need for mothers to be spending a fortune on nappies. This is all about luxury and convenience. Now, if you have your benefits stopped or you're on a very low income, this is the sort of thing you've got to explore. You've got to explore alternative ways of cutting back. And it's a mother's priority has to be, with the child benefit, to provide sanitary protection for her daughter. If she doesn't think it's important, then that is a serious problem. And that is the problem the school should be tackling, with a home visit from a welfare education officer who can explain to the mother, this is a priority. You have got to get your priorities right. Because, as I said at the beginning, poor people often get all the priorities right. When money goes short, there's something about people get the priorities all wrong. It's about managing your money. It's about using your initiative. They're just wanting it all. They want the children to have everything they want at Christmas. They want the children to have everything they want at Christmas when they can't afford it. If you can't afford Christmas presents, you don't give your children Christmas presents. You have to explain to your children, I'm sorry, we can't afford it. Full stop. And I think it's about parents, responsible parenting. Because in the old days, when I was a child, parents didn't get into debt because of Christmas presents. Children just got a Satsuma Christmas Day and a little tube of Smarties, and that was it, because mum and dad couldn't afford it. Mum and Dad couldn't afford it. They were very, very poor. I got a Satsuma for Christmas. I was thrilled to bits with this Satsuma because Satsumas were very expensive, so this was a real treat, right? And so this is about parents who are making stupid decisions. And you parents do have the money, they have the money, but they're not using it sensibly. I had my benefits stopped, right? I could have got cheap sanitary protection, right? When my benefits stopped, I had a guinea pig, so she got the cheapest of the cheap food, right? In other words, you have to cut your cloth according to whatever, right? And I think it's about harassed parents not really thinking things through. They're not using the brains that God has given them. They just say to themselves, oh no, I'm not going to waste my money on that. It's not important. Well, that's a stupid attitude to take. And somebody should be educating them that it is important. And this, again, could come from the school. Instead of always trying to get people to donate money to buy their products in order to donate for free sanitary towels to give to young girls in order to secure future customers, what they should be doing is saying to parents through adverts, use your child benefit and make sure your girls go to school. Make sure your girls go to school. But I don't think it's always job to do it, because really there is much cheaper sanitary protection out there, and always know that. Always know that for very poor families, right, always is far too expensive. It's far too expensive. Always is for people with good, reasonably well-paying jobs, right? It's not for people who are struggling to make ends meet. The people that are struggling to make ends meet go to Aldi, they go to Lidl, they go to Asda, and they get the cheapest sanitary products, right? They're going basic. And the basic stuff at Asda and these supermarkets and Sainsbury's is fantastic. This is what people don't realise. The standard and the quality is very, very good. And you have to consider the motives of Always. I would not buy Always products and want my money, because what's going to happen is it's coming from your pocket. You're the person who has to pay for it. For feckless parents who have child benefit and can't be bothered to buy a cheap packet of sanitary towels that might cost 55 pence, right, for a week's sanitary protection. I am not totally up to date on the cheapest, but it's very, very cheap. And these parents can afford it. They can afford it. They don't want to spend the money on it. That's why. They want to spend it on other things, invariably for themselves, right? Right? They're not thinking clearly. They are thinking like idiots. And what the poor need are to use their brains more, and to think, and to problem solve, and to think about ways of coping and handling their money and getting their priorities right. In the same way, you get the same with the middle class. Exactly the same. A drastic reduction in income, and they're stupid. It's like they lose the money and they lose the brains. This doesn't have to be the case. And it's not poverty that's a problem. It's people not using the basic common sense and ingenuity and managing their money, right? Now, while I was on benefits, I chose to put money aside every single week in case my benefits stopped. And eventually, one day, my benefits were stopped for 4 months. 4 months. Now, the money that I'd saved was the money that I lived on. In other words, I didn't go to a food bank. I lived on the money that I'd saved from my income support. So for years, I'd been saving a few pounds a week from my income support in case my benefits were stopped. And one day they were stopped, and I used that money that I saved up to live on for 4 months. I didn't need to go to a food bank, right? Doesn't mean I'm not sympathetic to food banks. I give food banks regularly as I'm giving stuff for the food bank. But I don't think there's enough people thinking through and managing their budget correctly. You know, you've got so many unemployed, healthy individuals, perfectly fit and healthy, who have the benefits stopped and have no ingenuity in thinking, how can I earn a few quid? Well, have you thought of going door to door and washing cars? Earn a few quid. Have you thought of going round to the pubs and say, do you need somebody to wash up your glasses? Do you need somebody to do some cleaning for you, cash in hand? Do you need somebody to clean your car? Do you need somebody to weed your garden? Why aren't these young men and women who are fit and healthy and unemployed using their ingenuity and earn a few bob? Because that's what people used to do. That's what people used to do. They didn't go and get bank loans and go to loan sharks. What they did was they used initiative. Right. And what people who are suffering poverty need is to use their brains more and to use their initiative more. And they need to be, some of them, you think there's something up here that's a problem. It's not that they're short of money. It's that they're not using the brains God has given for them. And they're reluctant to have it tough. They want, and think it's their human right, to have what the Duchess of Cambridge has. The poor think they are entitled to everything like celebrities. They think they're entitled to the life of Riley. They think they're entitled to a superb high standard of living. And I say you're not entitled to anything. And most of life is about adapting to your circumstances and managing your resources sensibly. In my experience of the poor, right, I've had a lot of experience with the poor, is they're so often feckless and useless at managing their money and making even sensible common sense decisions. And this will be considered, this video, as being anti-poor, insulting, offensive, but I really couldn't give a damn, because it's not only I that has seen this, it's George Orwell who saw this in the 1920s, and he was gobsmacked that children are virtually starving and the parents are buying themselves new radios, right? The parents are buying beer. The parents are buying cigarettes. The parents are buying all sorts of crap they don't need. And they don't give a shit about the kids. That's the problem. That's the problem. They don't give a shit about the kids.